Hey everyone, it's Lori from the Watchman's Midnight Hour, and was able to spend some time with the Lord this morning. And it's interesting, some of it I didn't really realize the Lord had said, but concerning faithfulness, I find it interesting how He addresses the first thing. It says, "Be dressed in readiness, keep your lamps alight." I found that very interesting, but He talks about readiness. And go to the next page. You know how I've always said that He speaks more to us being ready for His coming, like His initial return, which is, us being changed in the twinkling of an eye and then being caught up. Well, He goes on and He talks about, actually, what's interesting is He says, "Blessed are the slaves whom the master shall find on the alert when He comes." So see, we're watching, we're waiting. "Truly I say to you that He will gird Himself to serve and have them recline at a table." Now, wait. Who's girding Himself to serve? Jesus is. And He has them recline at the table, and He will come up and wait on them. And then whether He comes in the second watch or in the third or finds them, so blessed are those slaves. And then again, once again, He says, "You too, be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect." But you notice we always say, oh, He says that He's coming at a time that we don't expect. But we never have paid attention how He first says to be ready. The focus is that we need to be ready for His coming. And as you go on, it actually, he speaks to the slave, that says, "Oh man, it's going to be forever," and they're beating those around them and getting drunk and just fooling around and not paying attention, right? And guess what He says again up here? He says He will sign that slave to a place with the unbelievers. Now, to assign a person to a place with unbelievers, that's my guess is, if you're not ready, you're staying in the tribulation. You get to stay with the unbelievers. And then He says the one who did not know it, though. So there's some people, like I think our children are pretty ignorant, and I'm not sure how He's going to deal with them. But He says, "But the one who did not know it and committed deeds worthy of flogging will receive a few." They're just going to receive a few. Now, it doesn't really say exactly what He means by them receiving a few, but that's an interesting thing to note, and I have to seek the Lord on that one because I don't understand it. But He said, "For everyone who's given much shall be required, and to whom they've been entrusted much, of him they'll be asked all the more." So it's pretty interesting. And I didn't know that He said that I've come to cast fire upon the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. And the baptism that He has to undergo is actually His. I looked at the subtitles and underneath the commentary, and it said that He knew He had to die. He had to die for us. And that was the baptism He was speaking of. And He says, "How distressed I am until it is accomplished." I didn't realize that He probably walked through life knowing how He was going to die and that He had to die. Can you imagine knowing that and walking? And then if you go towards the end again, He's speaking to the multitudes. It's interesting. He's speaking to the multitudes. Now, I always thought He was speaking to the Pharisees when He said this. But if you look at the top, it says, "And He was also saying to the multitudes, you hypocrites, you know how to analyze and appear a storm, right? About the sky. But why do you not analyze this present time?" Aren't we all analyzing this present time right now? Aren't we all seeking, looking, and watching for the signs? I really believe God's pleased with that. Don't you feel in your spirit like He's happy? Like when you're doing it, you get a joy. Well, that's coming from the heart, right? And that's the Lord. He is pleased that we're analyzing the present time, and that we're watching, and that we're ready, and that we're walking, as the salt of the earth, and that what is it? We're letting our light shine. We're having our light, be not hidden. And oh, isn't that cool? So, yeah, so that's really cool, guys. I just wanted to mention this, and I also wanted to just say that, I really do believe our time is short, and the more I've listened to everyone who stands on the Word of God. Those that are we're all focusing to 2025. Tom Horn focuses on 2025. Tons of people. Honestly, I've never really listened to Tom Horn. I kind of turned away from listening to him for a long, long time. And only recently did someone show a clip of, and I think I put it in one of my messages, like last one or two. I put it in the description. So if you need to go to it and pay attention and look, feel free. Because Tom Horn really looks at all the circumstances that are playing out, and he says it points to 2025 as being that turning point when the tribulation starts. So we are very, very, very soon. Whether, some people think that maybe today's the last day of the Feast of Shavuot, right? I have come across someone who actually kind of wanted to focus more on the 8th through the 11th, being more the Pentecost Shavuot timeframe. Now, I don't know how the Lord's going to do the church being removed. A lot of people keep thinking that it has to follow a feast to be fulfilled. I don't. I believe it has to happen before the next feast that's fulfilled. And that next feast that's fulfilled has to do with the tribulation beginning. And I noticed that Tom Horn focuses on the Feast of Tabernacles as being when the tribulation begins. And he says it could then, a certain amount of days prior to that, would be like the Feast of Trumpets. That could be when the church is removed. Then he says 120 days from that, prior to that, is Pentecost, and that's when the church could be removed too. So, it's very interesting how this whole year we have some time frames of how things could orchestrate themselves. But I really do believe that we're looking at a 2025 rapture and a beginning of the tribulation. How it falls together, I honestly can't tell you 100%. Now, I do feel like the Lord has told me personally that it's from July to July. But if that doesn't happen, hey, that's my personal perspective of what I feel the Lord has led me to understand. I could be wrong, but hang in there. The unity of believers is stronger than ever, which is another confirmation that we are likely at the door. So hang in there. God bless you all. Take care, guys. Bye.